Well, we're going to be trying our one-take video again. This is part 2 of Visual Studio Code. It's actually for Clojure with Calva. This is not the correct date. I'll be showing you that in just a minute. Yesterday was Labor Day, and so we have the hammering man, and here is a man hammering on the hammering man. Just very clever. This is from Bing. I liked it. We have hammering men all over. There's one in Seattle. And as you see, we can have paintings of hammering men too. What are we going to work on? Who is our audience? That's a big question. Who is this video for? Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to give people some cookies or bake some cookies. We're going to look at Calva, of course, and Calva Features. We specifically will talk about Paredit because that solves the parenthesis problem that everybody's been so upset about or worried about. And we'll use the Powershell to actually show you code, and we'll end with Clojure Koans, which are Zen Buddhist kind of phrases. So let's get going. Now we're going to do Alt spacebar N, and we've got our blank screen. We did this last time, and it's very important. What are we doing? What are we working on? The key question in counseling is, what are you wanting? And right now, we're just looking at what we're working on. And who's our audience? Let's talk about the audience for just a minute. I said we were going to bake some cookies. Right? Eric Normand is a wonderful programmer, and he has this fantastic course where we bake cake and cookies and brownies. Sounds good to me. Okay, if we're talking to children, that's Minecraft, of course, or can be. Plain lines where you build simple structures. We're going to be looking at that. Minecraft is available on the web free for everyone. That's interesting. It's primitive. The consoles are much better, but you can play Minecraft if you want to. What you do in Minecraft is you take plain land and make a very plain house. That's about as plain as they come. Children, I'm sure, are laughing and snickering right now. Whatever. We're going to be looking, though, at families at all levels, from infancy through early childhood, potty training, preschool, where Montessori lets you show initiative, and you're not made guilty at all for that particular psychosocial aspect. Our major focus is school-age children, at least that's where my 10-year-olds are. Adolescence is a bigger, tougher time. Very important that you clarify your identity before you go off making love and making babies, and then making a community and so on. Ideally, if you do all of this cycle right, according to Erikson, you will have an integrity rather than being sad when you look at yourself. So we're looking at stages of psychosocial development. This picture just came from the Very Well Mind, and you could look at some of their ads for medicines or cloud services if you want to. These are nice discussions, very good website. And as I said, we're going to be focused in this age and looking at words here. Yes, I'm going to be trying to do symbolic programming. We're representing big, high-level symbols. In fact, part of our audience, in addition to families and children, mothers and fathers, may be academics. And here we go with very heavy academic stuff. Bartosz Miluski lives in Seattle, I found out. Used to run the Haskell users group. And this will challenge you wherever you want to go. So let's look at some advice, perhaps, from Lerner and Lowe. I think it's Lerner and Lowe. In any case, show me. I read and read and read, but let's just see what Audrey Hepburn thinks about.
If you're in love, show me. Tell me no dreams filled with desire. If you're on fire, show me.
All right, so we're certainly going to be trying to do that kind of thing, that most of what we talk about will be illustrating if possible. Right now, unfortunately, there are a lot of words. Let's go ahead and blank out the screen again for a second. And children need to read books. You need to be shown some things or taught some things, told some things. We're going to tell you what we're going to do, and then we'll do it. The big finish will be a demo of what I'm talking about. So let's get on with it. We're talking about Calva. And we're going to quickly go through this menu, at least the top 2 or 3 elements of this menu. Calva is the integrated REPL environment for Visual Studio Code, and that's what we talked about last time. That's what we're going to be doing this time. You can get it from GitHub. Just, search, or there's the actual thing. Search GitHub Calva, and you'll get it. You don't even need the slides. Okay. We're going to just look at getting started with Calva and features, but some more details than we talked about last time. Here are the 2 links. You can start right there, or you can start where we show you. Connecting to your first project. Here we're going through the Getting Started menu. Connect to your project with Jack in. Control-Alt-C is the Calva key set. And then Control-Alt-J lets you jack into an existing project. You can do a fig wheel, a Clojure script project, or a regular Clojure project. There's the REPL. And as you see, it can be a Clojure REPL or it can be a Clojure script REPL. This is the output REPL file. That's edited and you can use it for a number of things. This is a messy slide, but all it shows is enter. When you use the Control-Alt-C Clojure and press enter, all of your work is loaded. Just do that once and you're done. I may try to copy this, or you try to copy it, and place the cursor at the end of each of these lines and press Control-Enter or Alt-Enter and learn what those 2 do. Those are the first 2 commands you're going to be doing with Clojure. Now on the same page, this something to try first is this amazing GIF demo that shows you keys and what they're doing. They're editing a structure or they're editing individual forms. We'll see that over and over again. Clojure consists of forms sequentially sometimes, but often they're nested. That's functional programming. Okay. The Calva commands are a Control-Shift-P. That's a Visual Studio Code command, but that gives you this magic thing we showed in the last video, where you can see whatever commands and you can get your keystrokes, whether you're using the Macintosh system or you're on a Windows system, you'll see Windows keystrokes. Very important to know. It turns out also that all of the commands for Calva for this extension of Visual Studio Code are available right here in the Contributions tab. So knock yourself out. Have a good time with commands. There are lots of them. Okay, we just talked about the current form. That's usually on a single line or maybe 2 lines. But then there's the top level form, and we'll be talking about that some more. Well, here it is. There's the top level form. That's the full experience. This is a comment form, a nice trick, and then you can evaluate individual forms, and we'll show you how to do that. Okay, so here we are. Alt spacebar N. Yes, what did we just talk about? Well, we dripped into Calva. I just started you out without showing how to get there. And we talked about some of the most important commands. Enter, Control-Enter, and Alt-Enter are the most important commands. You're not going to use the Control-Shift-P, but maybe you will later. When you're doing advanced things, you will. And you only have to load the Calva, which is Control-Alt-C, and enter once. Okay, let's get going. Let's keep going because we got a lot to do. Okay. We're looking at Calva Features now. We just went through the getting started part. We're looking at Calva Features, and we're going to talk about the top 10 features, the output REPL a bit, formatting, and then introduce Paredit. This is going to go fast. Let's just do it. You can slow down the video and stop it. Control-W is quite useful. It expands or contracts the current selection. So you can select 2 or 3 forms within the current one, etc. There's a lot more commands there. Here are our 2 REPLs, but notice we're starting to get things that look like web-based code. There's a heading. Interesting. Sounds good to me. All right, the REPL history is big, and the main reason I showed you this was because of peek at the results. This is a nice demo, and maybe we'll show you these things active. What he's done is had a large nested structure, adds a word us below or us, and it shows immediately in the output REPL file. So we'll show you that demo if I can get to it. Paredit is what we're talking about. Paragraph edit, it lets us solve the paragraph problem. Paredit is enabled automatically in Calva. Fantastic. Alt spacebar, N. Okay, what did we just talk about? We talked about some more commands and introduced this parentheses edit. I was introduced first to parentheses infer, which is what it's doing. When it finds a closed parenthesis, closed paren, it infers the open paren. So it searches around and keeps the parentheses balanced. The big thing that used to bother everybody because you couldn't think, you had to spend all your time editing parentheses. No longer. Good business. Okay, so now let's go on. We're going to do quickly. You've got REPLs going. This is the NREPL, which is the net REPL. Here's some formatting tips that I'm just going to skip through. Indenting is important. We indent with 2 spaces. I'm not going to stop. We're going right into Paredit. The parenthesis problem solved? Well, it's not completely solved, but at least this helps enormously. I offered S expressions just to indicate that that's what we're dealing with. We're working with symbols. Can we deal with the symbols of children growing or baking cookies? Yes, we can. John McCarthy did that, and maybe we'll dance around that website in a minute. Here's Paredit, and really all I want you to look at is know about the backspace. When you backspace something, you'll be erasing things. If you delete, you of course erase on the other side. Backspace erases on the left side of the cursor, delete on the right side. If you don't like that, then you can hold down Alt and use them normally. So that's good to know. Okay, you have navigating structures, and I'm not even going to get into these very many times. They're just, you can navigate around individual forms, full forms. As you get familiar, as you're comfortable with forms, you'll want to keep your hands on the keyboard like you did in Emacs. This CIDR is a port from, Calva is a port from CIDR, which was an Emacs where programmers were obsessed with keeping their hands on the keyboard. They were much more productive. And I agree, they are. I'm using the mouse all the time. So we've got selecting in Paredit as well. There's lots of advanced editing. The good thing is that you can choose to disable any or all of them. You can use the ones that you like. You can make things. There's a key map that lets you control how you want the keyboard shortcuts to look. Okay, the debugger is next, and we're not going to go there. Okay, so let's stop for a second, Alt space bar N, and just think what we just talked about. I gave you a really quick introduction to parenthesis edit. The only thing really you're going to be looking at is backspace and delete. And the only thing, all right, as a beginner, it's Control and Alt, Enter, and backspace and delete, or the Alt backspace and delete. So let's see if I want to go with any of these demos. We're at 13 minutes. Let's go back a little bit. This is just a quick illustration, okay? You can see, in this case, the backspace is backing up. Here, you're deleting what's behind. This is the delete key versus the backspace key. If you hold down Alt, then the keys work normally. It does show you where the balanced parentheses are, and the same thing with Alt Delete. That was an important little part there. S expressions are data structures. Data structures are what we're living with. We're trying to represent ideas inside a computer. And now with symbolic data structures, we can do that. John McCarthy started us out a long time ago. I think it was the end of the 50s, 1950s. He gave us LISP, the programming language LISP, which has this lambda that scares everybody. They don't use that in Clojure much. We're tree structured. There's nested tree data structures that allow us to use a Russian doll kind of way of thinking that's just wonderful. Okay, spend some time here if you want to. There's lots of stuff. Every one of these can, if you're an academic, have a good time. Okay, here was this output REPL that I was showing you about. Here we are near the end of it. Okay, here's the beginning. Okay, so below is by itself. And in the Calva REPL, the output file, there's no below. But as you change, as you edit this, the Calva REPL automatically updates and changes as well. So they're showing Macintosh control keys here, but that's what this demo was about. Cool, I like it. Here's Paredit, fully navigating if you want to watch this navigate. I don't want to watch any navigation, so we're through with that particular demo. And back to blank screen. Okay, we've got to keep going. It's 15 minutes, and we try to maximize out at 20. So let's keep going. And what's next on our little agenda? Well, okay, PowerShell. I'm going to quickly tell you what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to do it. So here we did PowerShell. Instead of going down here to Command, I went down to Power and got a PowerShell, same kind of stuff, but is more powerful, of course. We did CD twice, and then Leiningen command, new for today. Leiningen, new for today on the root directory. All right, and so I will soon have, I will have that. So there it is. This was my new command, and look what I got. A root directory, September 8th, and I have this. Now, it's probably not a good idea to just fill your root directory up with days that normally I put this into subdirectories. I make it a subdirectory, and we'll go ahead and do that, but not right now. Okay, now this is the magic button. This was the big one. You hit code dot. I changed to September 8th. I changed the directory to September 8th, and then said code space period. And boom, Visual Studio opened up, gave me September 8th, and there's my source code. Same source code is right here. So we're ready to go. We have now started, and Calva is ready. It's sitting here because I've got the Calva extension working. Okay, so if you open up the editor under this File Explorer, you'll see the core, and there's not much to it. I don't do a whole lot. Prints Hello World, famous Hello World. In Clojure, it's often the Fibonacci sequence, but Hello World is good enough. You're setting up a Leiningen project, so I think that's the REPL that we use. Calva doesn't necessarily have its own REPL that I know about. I think you're using the REPL that's there, so we're doing a Leiningen project, and there we go. There's our REPL in the output Calva window. By the way, at the bottom, right below this window, if we move it down here, nope, we're not moving it down there. This window is below your editor window, and you'll rarely see this thing. No problems detected. Almost always you're going to have problems found in the code. Okay, it looks like we're ready to actually do something. I'm not sure. Control N, remember? So what did I just do? We went to a PowerShell, and I showed you how to get to Leiningen. All right. We're getting near the end, and so I don't know that I'm going to do an awful lot. Well, we're going to have to. So let's go. Right now we're going to go to the Clojure Koans. That's 2 syllables, I believe, Koan, and it's the Zen Buddhist. If you look it up, we're going to go and we're not going to talk too much about any particular religion. You choose your religion as far as I'm concerned. Zen Koans talk about the inadequacy of logical reasoning. Well, to provoke enlightenment, I don't think that works, but we'll talk about that later. Koans are available here. This was the Koan site. You can get the exercises on GitHub, of course. You can also watch older walkthroughs. 2013, these Koans have been around, so you've got walkthroughs and the answers for everything, but I'm going to give you the answers anyway. So far, we've created a September 08th directory in our Windows home directory for Clojure Core. All right, I did download, I made a folder, a directory for the Koans, and I did a GitHub clone of that repository and have all of the Clojure Koans, and under source, actually, okay, under the Clojure Koans, there they all are. There's the Clojure lessons or Koans, and we're going to deal with those now. We're going to look at those. So I copied them into the September 8th source directory. It was a subdirectory of September 8th, and there they all are. All of my working code is there. Okay, so let's look at some of it. Okay. Now, these are questions, and these are all questions. Where are the answers? The answers are located under Resources under Koan's CLJ. That's the answers. So when we have questions here, you need to have both. Make sure that you do. You don't want to have to look them up on YouTube all the time. Okay, but We shall contemplate truth by testing reality via equality. Okay, true equals true. Yep, it does. This is an expression I evaluated with Control Enter. And I did it 2. 1 plus 1 equals 2. It's true. Man, look at me go. 3 and 4, a 7, and a 5 are all true, and so on. So this is how you do these koans. You're actually programming Clojure code. Okay. Now, by the way, as you're dancing along here, if you put your mouse over an equal, if you mouse over the equal, boom, a description of Clojure Core comes up and tells you what you're doing, what these Clojure functions will do. It's a built-in manual. Holy cow. Play around with Calva. It's fun. You'll have a good time. Okay, so here was, as I said, the problems window. There's problems everywhere. Partly because I can't figure out how to get namespaces to import. My namespaces don't import, and so I can't use the programs there. I have to put an apostrophe in front of the parenthesis, or just get rid of the parenthesis in front of meditations. And in fact, that's what I did. And so that was why we have an unresolved symbol in the string section. Here's our answers, here's our meditations, and here's a problems window. 3 windows that you're working with in Calva. Here's a Clojure test. Now, I just moused over Clojure test. I'm sorry. Yeah, Clojure test, the required Clojure test, if we wanted to be doing some is or equal functions. And here's the cold Clojure library, and this is about, I don't know, 50 lines long. I couldn't get it to display for me. But many of these things will show up as you mouse over them. Terrific, amazing, good to know. I actually pretended that I was a big professional programmer. I edited the change log documentation on how to run Clojure Koans, and 24 files from the Koan source and 1 file with the answers. So I'm editing the change log already, and we're also well, this is the project CLJ, and I've got to know why these things are. This is the initial namespace, and apparently we do have our Clojure 1.10.1 as our working Clojure code. And there's a README. I also edited it for a second. The Clojure library designed to help beginners learn Clojure with Calva. I'm going to have to edit that again some more. Maybe we'll go do that now. I'm at 22 minutes, but so what? Okay, so here's our 3 systems. Here's our bakery, by the way, and Eric Norman is just amazing. It's purely functional TV. Notice cake, cookies, brownies, all at the same line. Here's recipes and ingredients, all at the same line. If we go to ingredients, we can go down further, and here's all of the ingredients with the amounts and so on. So, cool. I like that particular Visual Studio system. Okay, here's our system. Let's do some more equalities. I think I've done them all because they're easy. Can I do list ones? Well, all right, let's try this one. Okay, they are Clojure sequences, so they allow access to first. Okay, it looks like we're dealing with a list here. So what do you think the first item is? I think the first item is going to be a 1. So let's do a Control Enter. And 1 equals 1. Yep, that's true. All right. But if you go to the end and do a Control Enter, the whole system is true. Probably Alt Enter. What's the rest going to be? Well, that's going to be the but first. So I think that's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see. 2 space 3, 4, 5. Sounds good to me, but I've got some stuff here. Let's get rid of that. Let's go right to the end. I could do a Control Enter again. That's false. So rest is not right. Maybe it's a list. I'm not sure. And of course, maybe we've got the answers over here so that I can look. How about this one? Is that true? Execution? No. Is this going to do it? No. Oops, it was. You had to actually create a list. Is this what they say? What are we doing? We're doing lists. Let's look over here and see. Oh, it's a vector, actually. Okay, but he accepted that. Now it says, count your blessings. Dracula, Dooku, and Kula. And of course that's 3. I got that count. I learned that well. And so we're going to do a Control Enter or an Alt Enter. Did this one become true? Yeah, it did. And I think when you start typing, it gets rid of it. Escape gets rid of your answers before they are all gone. That should be a 4. That should be a 0. Okay. See, so now we're getting the answers, but why isn't that a 4? I guess it's because it's one string. Haha. But it's nothing? Why? Oh, because you're asking for a count of nothing. It's not the 4 words there, it's the count of nothing. So I'm going to say 0. But of course I've cheated. I looked at the answers. It's nice to have answers, for me anyway. Okay, and that's true. What you're doing is seeing if you can find out on this side of the equation is there. You saw it pop up. There we go. The equality on that side of the equation is count, and there we go with a count. We've got rest. We've got a cons, and what it does, it adds things to the first element, returns a new segment where x is the first element. We're dealing with sequences now. That's an abstraction over vectors and lists and even strings. So let's see where we go. Nice set of answers. Okay. Is there another one that I wanted to show you? I don't think so. I think we're done. Other than perhaps here's all of our work on this side. You can see there are errors below. As you touch on something, it pops up with how many errors are left. Perhaps because we can't resolve the Koan engine core, whatever. Let's make it bigger so we can look at it on the... All right. I think we're getting ready to stop here. And if we make this one show up and pull this up, we can see all of the errors. You can change window sizes, bring them up. You can see that the errors under problem number 3, we can also bring in this REPL, which has got the answers. And there we've got all 4 windows on our screen. I think that's a nice place to stop. Can we go blank? I think we can. We've thought about a lot of things. It was a good time. Let's end this video now. 27 minutes. A lot of stuff. And I'll talk to you soon.